Let's begin.
Hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Ready to take a trip into the unknown? Well, not everyone gets a choice. So settle in by your monitor screens to find out why with a little story that I like to call The Boatman's Tale.
Skylar opened his eyes, unsure of where he was or how he'd gotten there. Above him was nothing more than a rocky substrate, which appeared obsidian due to how dark its black hue was. Nearby, Skylar could hear the gentle caress of water slapping against something close to him. A wooden wall, maybe, thin and uninsulated. Skylar sat upright, rubbing his face, noting that he was covered in filth and grime. He was correct. Skylar was surrounded by thin wooden walls, but each was raised only a few feet off the floor, no ceiling above except for that provided by the dank and musty cave that he traveled through on a bed of slow-flowing water. He was in a boat, a small boat, not much bigger than a typical rowboat, and he was traveling through what appeared to be some sort of underground river system, towards a destination he had no mental mention of. However, Skylar reasoned that the cloaked figure, robes tattered and faded, his back turned to him, and pushing the craft along with something attached to a long wooden handle like an oar, likely held that information. "Hey, who the hell are you? Where are you taking me? How did I get here?" Skylar asked. He was apprehensive at first, intending to only ask one question to gauge the situation that he was in, but once one question fell from between his lips, the rest followed like a torrent. Slowly the robed figure turned. His hands were gaunt, nearly skeletonized, and his facial features were shrouded by both his hood and the darkness that enveloped them both. But when the thing spoke, its voice sent ice running down Skylar's spine.
"I am the Boatman. I'm taking you to where you are meant to be. And how you got here is on your own accord, ensnared by your own devices."
The thing growled inhumanely, causing Skylar's mind to recoil in horror. A short time passed with neither saying a word. Skylar was paralyzed with a heavy feeling of ominous dread, but the being did not move, did not speak, and did not turn back around. Its enshadowed face simply stared back at Skylar, as if awaiting more questions to answer. And finally, Skylar spoke up again, if for nothing else than to break the silence. Are you going to kill me?" he asked nervously. The thing laughed heartily, as if it had not heard a joke in an age.
"Everyone always says that. Sorry, but no. You, Skylar Thatchery, are already dead."
Skylar thought back, terrified by the man's words. The last thing he remembered, he had just broken into someone's house for something important. But before he could reach whatever his goal was, he had heard a sudden noise that had stopped him short in his tracks. I was shot, Skylar muttered.
"Yes, you were. Do you recall why?"
The shadowy creature asked, turning back to face the bow now, rowing a few times with its long-handled stick to keep the vessel's momentum going. I think so. Everything's kind of fuzzy. I can't remember. Am I really dead? He asked the figure once more.
Yes, I'm afraid that you are. However, why don't you try to remember? Indulge me in a story, Mr. Thackeray. It's a long ride to where we're going, and I haven't heard a good tale in ages.
The thing asked with a growl. Well, Skylar began. I think I was getting medicine. Yeah, it's all starting to come back now. My wife was sick. She's really great, you know. We've been through a lot. We lost our only child a few years back. It wasn't long after that she became really sick. I had to take care of her.
Your child died. That is true, though I never saw her. She is someplace else.
What do you mean by that? Where are we going? Skylar demanded.
I think you should continue with your story. Entertain me, kind sir, and maybe you'll be rewarded with answers.
What do you mean? I told you I was shot. Because Wait a minute, that's right, Skylar exclaimed, as if he just remembered something important.
Yes? Go on.
My wife's medicine. I didn't have the money for it. I broke into this rich man's house, and he shot me. But that's not all. The boatman said nothing, just stared blankly ahead into the darkness that yawned ever further into an unknown abyss. But Skylar knew that he was listening. My wife was sick because it was my fault. Our child died because it was my fault. Skylar paused, hoping the boatman would either confirm or deny his claims. But he still said nothing. I'm right, aren't I? I mean, I know I'm right. I met someone who made me a promise and kept it by twisting what I desired. A wish that turned bad. That's right, now I remember. My child was the one that was sick, and my marriage was falling apart. I didn't have any money to pay our bills, and we were barely able to feed ourselves. I met someone, a tall man dressed in a suit all in black, who offered me a way out. He told me that he could ease my child's suffering and repair my marriage, and that I wouldn't have to offer up much in return. I agreed. I mean, how could I not? But my daughter's suffering ended when she died the very next day. Soon after, my wife got ill as well. That's why I was willing to steal. Skylar finished.
And your spouse falling ill, did that bring you closer together?
The boatman finally spoke once more, inquiring more from Skylar. Well, I mean, I suppose. But none of this tells me where. Wait, you mean that guy in the suit wasn't Looney Tunes? That he really made good on his word? Skylar asked, but the boatman did not respond. So he really was who he said he was? Then that means my soul. I gave him my soul, and now you're taking me to hell, aren't you? Skylar finished with a question.
And finally, there it is. Most people don't even know that they're dead. Never mind exactly how they died, or why they are receiving their just fates. Now, Mr. Thackeray, allow me to tell you a story, not all that dissimilar from yours. You see, I too once had a wife whom I loved very much, though that was so long ago, I can't even remember her name, just the feeling. I too bargained with the devil in a bid to save her life, to spare myself an existence without her. I, too, ended up here. And just like you, I remembered why.
The boatman paused.
Ah, we've finally arrived.
Skylar peered past the man in the tattered robes, over his shoulder to see a distant shore through a thick red fog, getting ever closer as they neared it. At first, all he saw were torchlights, and then the shore itself, and finally, the black, woody branches of twisted and dead trees, and an obsidian gate beyond, aglow with a raging fire beyond that. In a mere moment, the boat slid to shore, allowing either of the two of them to step off the small vessel and onto the shores of hell itself. But instead, the robed figure turned back and looked at Skylar dead in the eyes, his face now lit by the flickering flames of hell's fiery beacons, and the details of what Skylar saw froze to the words in his mouth. The man could barely be described as such. His skin was thin and taut like tissue paper stretched over an elongated skull underneath. His jaw hung slack and disjointed, and his deep-set eyes burned a blazing yellow. The thing flapped its black tongue from within its mouth and began to speak. The thing proclaimed, and in an instant, vanished into nothingness right before Skylar. He couldn't tell for sure, but the figure almost seemed to smile a sinister grin just as he did. "But wait, I don't understand," Skylar called out into the darkness, trying to step from the small boat to find a way out of this place. But it was like something unseen, like an invisible lanyard, held him in place. Skylar looked down at his hands, dirty and filthy, but he was covered in something else now. Something far more tattered and faded. Something old. And his tattered flowing garment told him all that he needed to know.
Sometimes you should just leave well enough alone, even when it comes to yourself. Or sometimes you can be damned by your own devices. But don't take my word for it. Come back again next weekend and indulge yourselves while you still can. And until then, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.